have to refer to my notes because there's so much.
We are live. We are live. We can
We
swear,
are live.
smoke, scream, and shout. Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm back in bedroom at minute. I'm laid back on bed, relaxing.
Did you have your tablets, Lindsay?
Yeah. And I says to John, I says, you do realise, don't you, this might be like a 3 o'clock finish, like last week. And he went, it bloody won't be. I says, it bloody will be.
Well, as long as you've had your tablets and you're
I've just took it.
comfortable.
Well, I've just put my evening, everybody joining. I've just put my tablet in my mouth and Lana popped up on bottom. So I popped my tablet in and it started dissolving slightly on my tongue. And I'm trying to quickly put Lana on. I couldn't say hello because I got a dissolving tablet and then I've had to drink my water. Evening, Antoinette.
Wi-Fi, hello.
Lindsay, will you post it to my group? For some reason, it doesn't show up for me.
Yep.
I usually have to ask Paul.
Hello, Stephanie from
We're going
Tennessee.
to have to get it sorted.
I know, I have no idea.
The sound should be down anyway, so I'm not going to get reverb back on. I need to go on.
How you doing, Kelly?
Evening, everybody. Evening, Heather, Kelly, Stephanie from Tennessee. Much love to you, my love life. I know. Share.
Doesn't it sound lovely, Tennessee?
It does sound lovely.
What's your spirit?
Hi, Robbie
Spirit
from Scotland.
vibe.
Irene.
So that again.
Spirit vibe.
That's it.
Yeah.
Spirit vibe. Done.
No, Irene had an earthquake last night.
Wow. Is everybody okay?
Jules. Hey, Jules.
I've put on it live now. So I've shared it. So you should get that in a minute and then you can share it.
Oh, thank
Hope
you.
you're well, Wi-Fi.
Evening, Denise. Love Lindsay's giggle.
Hello,
Evening, Joel's. Hi, Irene. I hope there was no serious injuries and I hope everybody's safe and sound, my lovely. So, tonight, what are we talking about, ladies?
Yes, Stephanie, Lindsay has got a lovely giggle, hasn't she? Very infectious.
That's more than infectious. It's damn round dangerous. We're waiting for Claire. I bet Claire's fell a bloody sleep. I'll tell you now. Claire will have fell asleep.
Oh.
Hi, Tina.
Hey,
Thanks for sharing
Robbie.
Wi-Fi.
Would one of you lovely ladies like a
waving back, Jules?
Robbie says, would one of you lovely ladies like a past life regression this weekend? I have a spare slot and it will be free.
Wow.
Lana?
I've had one.
Have you had one? Yo-yo?
Well, you know, Robbie, it's so kind of you. I would normally say yes, only this weekend I'm going down to visit my brother and I'm only with him for 3 days. But thank you so much for the offer. I would have said yes.
I would love to, but I had to give the other two ladies chance. But then afterwards, I would have picked their ears and said, "Now then, it's mine."
There you go, Lindsay.
You'll have to let me know time, Robbie. Thank you so much. And we'll have to have you on one night, Robert. In fact, I'll tell you when we've got Paul coming on. We've got a gentleman called Steve that's going to be joining us. And I think he's on the 14th of April. And they're coming, both of them. Paul works NLP, Steve works NLP, but Steve does NLP on a spiritual level. So if that's your cup of tea and you fancy coming on, come and join us live. I'll just message me and I can send you a link and come and join us. There'll just be me, you, Paul and Steve on just to chit chat about things. So that's going to be that one's a good coming up. So it's to when you want them. No worries, Robbie. I'll message you afterwards. If you could just send me a message or message Paige, whichever, and I can message you. Thank you. So
Stephanie's got a birthday on April the 5th. That's not too far away, is it?
No, I'll have to sing happy birthday to you. Mine is spiritual too, rather than hypno. Wow, this is going to be interesting because I've had the hypno from Paul and I've not had a spiritual one. So that, I'm
So,
excited.
Robbie, if you do that with Lindsay, do we see it, or is it just
No,
between you
no,
two?
no, I'm not share it. It's up to Robbie. If I'm all right, if Robbie's all right to do it live, not live, it's whatever Robbie's happy with. So tonight, what are we talking about, Lorna?
We're going to go into the darkness, I think.
We are. We're crossing over.
Yes, thank you.
We're going to talk about your favourite thing, Lindsay, Desmond's.
The Desmonds are coming. Hey, John, Jace. No worries, Robbie. Thank you.
Private.
So tonight we're going to be talking about the Desmonds, the darker side to our loving light. But the reason why, and I mentioned talking to Lorna about it the other day, the reason why is because we have so many people comment or ask us questions, and it's not our forte. It's not Lorna's forte. It's not Yolanda's forte. But between us, Lorna's done some really good reading and updated herself. And Lorna now is going to. So does it tell you when it first started, Lorna?
It began with religion. So basically, we've always believed in something.
Yes.
And since the dawn of time, whether it's been like primitive religion or more sophisticated religion, through the centuries, we've believed in something. Between that sort of sacred space between space and time, if you like. So, it kind of goes back, and I did a timeline because I didn't get a concept of when various religions began.
Yeah.
So basically it starts with the Zoroastrians, which I had to get my tongue around that. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, which depend on prayer rather than meditation. So in the Western world, the four main religions kind of, they mention angels.
Yes.
So we kind of start with angels and the angelic realms. And
I come big.
And there we get a basis of where it starts, because as we know, we then go on to fallen angels, and one in particular.
So Brown's medicine.
That's a very sort of quick, sort of where it began. But the four main religions also believe in heaven, earth, and hell.
Yeah.
So if you take that basic concept, I'm just reading Robbie's message. If you take that, you then gain an understanding as to where it came from, where it originated. So they believed in heaven, earth, and hell. And of course, when you look at things like Buddhism and Hinduism, they believe more in meditation. So they didn't use prayer as much as meditation and the belief in reincarnation. So we kind of get a separation from in heaven in sort of centuries going by. So Hinduism seems like one of the oldest religions. So that was,
I agree. Hinduism and shamanism for me. Apparently shamanism was around before paganism.
Yeah.
Which I've only learned that today.
So you've got like 2300 BC to 1500 BC, which was Hinduism. 600 BC to 500 BC, Judaism. And then you've got 600 BC to 400 BC, Buddhism. So it's kind of, you get a structure as to where, and then Christianity is first century.
Yeah.
And then you've got kind of Zoroastrianism. That's one of the oldest religions. And that's from Iran. That's an Iranian
Wow. I've not heard of that. I've not
heard of that.
I'm
Yeah,
very, very
Hi, Diane. I haven't
closed
heard of
down.
it.
Evening, everybody joining.
Everybody.
Very closed down
Hi,
to that.
everyone.
Not closed down, but not. I need to read more on religions.
Well, then you've got sort of 7th century Islam. So it kind of gives you a bit of a structure, but when all's said and done, the 4 main, or, ones that mention angels are the ones I mentioned. So then you've got the Old Testament, which only actually mentions 3 angels by name.
Yeah.
And we have a character comes in called Enoch, who was something like Adam's great-great-great-great-great-grandson.
Yeah.
And he went on a journey to the heavens. So his accounts of what he saw was quite in-depth. And this is where a lot of, where demons come from, in effect, hell.
Wow.
He describes everything that he experienced throughout the heavens.
Hi, Anne.
They have included parts of Enoch's accounts in the New Testament, sorry.
Yeah.
By the time the New Testament was compiled, Satan and a third of the heavenly host had already fallen.
Yeah.
So that was mentioned in the New Testament. And then we've got sort of certain changes that occur throughout history. So you've got in sort of around the 1400s, it was like angelic fever. So there was paintings everywhere, and paintings reflect the nature of the church and what was going on at that time in a religious way.
Yeah.
Because it was the churches that commissioned artists to paint them, mainly. So we have sort of that kind of thing going on in the, going way ahead in the 1300s. And then that is where occultism started to come in as well. So you've got like the Kabbalah, you've got things like alchemy and stuff like that started coming through. And then you kind of, the angelic depiction and I suppose within the churches and the religious structure started to diminish when the plague came, because then people were starting to turn their backs on, where are the angels?
Yeah.
Help us. And so that kind of diminished a little bit, and then the church had to rethink things through a little bit. So then we come on to, I wrote a little bit out here, which kind of talks about the invention of hell. So basically it's down to Enoch. So it says here, the whole idea of the demonic form of a fallen angel was far from Enoch's experience of the gigantic Grigori. And the Grigori were the Watchers. They were classed as the Watchers. And we've all heard of the Watchers. They were meant to be gigantic angels. The entire demonic and devilish superstructure, with its hell located far from the pearly gates of heaven, is relatively late Christian. So then that comes in. So where I mentioned that things started to change and the art and depiction and the church started to alter, then you had hell come into it in a religious way, because there is no redemption without, so there is no need for Christ without hell.
Yeah.
So therefore, it says the writers of the Middle Age managed to embellish the idea until little remained of the original Jewish images. Because I think that religions, some of them interlaced, and they adopted certain stories and along the way. It says the dark collective unconscious of medieval Europe was an extraordinary field of imaginative energy. It was an era of magic and alchemy, the Kabbalah, and those areas of knowledge. In such an atmosphere, both angels and demons were summoned by holy or diabolic practitioners. So then you had sort of people taking it further and summoning the devil or summoning the angels. So we have kind of what we're left with now in effect, kind of run through the ages to present day. So it then goes on to, I couldn't read the whole of this. I couldn't read all of it. I did need a glass or two of wine to do
that. No wine.
So it says, in order to understand the nature of the angels who are said to inhabit those realms of darkness, it is best to examine the portrait of the entity who is the most enigmatic and surprising angel of all, Satan. Hell is inseparable from the evil one. This dark entity is the complete antithesis of the Archangel Michael. In some traditions, the prince of evil looks through the dark mirror at his reflection as the twin brother of the Logos or Christ. It is no coincidence, for without the archfiend, there would be no Christ needed to defeat him. So it kind of evolved more within the church to, I suppose, as well, to control the people who wanted the church.
Yeah.
And then it goes on in this book to kind of go, there is name after name of how he's referred to and where it comes from, which is pretty interesting, which I can't find at the moment.
It's like that thing though, isn't it? If you fear something, then you're going to go to church, aren't you? If you're going to be fearful of the devil, then you're going to go to church, so that obviously keep him away.
But then it's also,
that control, isn't it? It's that control.
It's a policing in a way. It's you've got to be good, otherwise this will happen to you. You'll go into pits of hell.
Yeah.
You know.
Krampus comes out in some. We've got
So it is. It's how they could control, the congregation.
Yeah, it's like if you stick your tongue out, it'll stay like that.
Sorry,
like when you're a kid. It's like when you're a kid and your parents say, "If you carry on sticking your tongue out, it'll stay like that."
Yeah, that's
and you
true.
believe it, don't you?
Yeah, you do. You do entirely. And I can't find that page, but it goes through sort of Beelzebub, Satan, and all that kind of thing, where those names stem.
So Beelzebub, yeah, you know which one I'm saying.
You've been drinking,
yeah, tea. But like with all these, the newer names of the demons and the devils, then these are what's come up, not recently, but like say like in the last 100 years or so. Then, so if we look back then, before all this come out in the earliest cultures, did they have like a good and a bad? Was it that what made the balance? And like you said, then it's been twisted and twisted.
Yeah, I think there's always been a good and a bad. I think that if we go back to the ancients, if the crops failed, then what did they do a sacrifice? They didn't think that as bad. They thought that was going to help. And so they always looked for something to balance it out. No matter how primitive the belief system was. And then, of course, it grew to day within the religious orders, I suppose. So it was used as, you know, a way of, you know, controlling the masses. And
I watched a documentary when we had the millennium, and they were talking about what happened in the first millennium, and I've got no knowledge, you know. I know there's a God and there's a devil from I had a Christian upbringing, but this documentary, it was quite interesting because they had all different imams on and rabbis on and priests on, and incredibly educated theologians, and they were discussing it. But one thing they all agreed on, that in the first millennium, the stick they wanted to beat everybody with was with the devil, and how they said basically in the first millennium the devil was invented because they thought the world was going to end as we switched in, and that was a stick they beat everybody with to repent. And if you weren't good, this is what would happen to you.
The thing is as well, you've got to have an opposite to everything. Like I've always said, up, down, left, right, there's always got to be an opposite. So if you believe in God, you've got to believe in the opposite. If you believe in good, you've got to believe in bad. You can't have one without the other to keep the balance.
No.
Yes.
So if you believe in good angels, there's got to be bad angels. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
So again, it goes down then to people's particular belief systems again. So like for me, I always say, I know there's negative energy out there, but I don't believe in I do believe in the devil, but not in the devil itself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's like you said, I believe in like the positive, the light, the universal energy. And I know to come with that, there's got to be the opposite. The negative that comes. But for, like in my belief, I believe that, you know, negative breeds negativity for me.
Yes.
And I think some people, if they've had that much negativity around them, or coming at them all the time, then they could think that they've got a negative energy attachment.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Because their belief might come. Do you know? I don't know. I know what I'm saying.
No, I do. Actually, there is a theory that you can manifest. You know, if you are scared enough or you believe enough in, you know, something that's bad, then you can manifest that. And, you know, and they say that our thoughts are live things. We can make things happen. So if we can make good things happen, surely
make bad things happen.
Yeah.
Well, like Robbie's put, there are good angels and bad, just as bad demons and good. Do you know? Just because they're a bad, just because they're a Desmond, as I call them, or a demon. I don't want to insult anybody by calling them Desmonds, but no, on a serious note, though. But the demon side of it is, it's got to be good demons too.
Yes.
Do you know? I agree with that. I'm sort of like on par with Robbie's thinking there. I quite like that. The good angels and bad angels. So that for me, there's got to be good demons and bad demons then.
Well, just like there's good people and bad people, you know.
Yeah.
We talk about, if you look at Carl Jung, and he talks about the shadow side of the personality, and you know, he talks about the personas, and that we can all be different things according to how we feel and what we believe in. We to hide. We tend to hide that shadow side, but then, you know, that can come out as well at different times. So, you know, through psychology as well, when that started to come in, then we had a different perception of what good and evil was also, you know. If you look at things like crimes that have been committed, and some of them say that they were told to do them. Some of them were just, where does that come from? Where does that person, are they born evil? Are they born that way?
They say that though, don't they? Sometimes when you're listening to all these like criminal and psychology ones I know this bringing it totally into it, but you listen to them and they'll say, well, we studied that child as a child. You look at the behavior of that child and it were like pointing towards that they were going to do these activities. But if that child would have had, would it be that if that child had a different lifestyle, would they have grown up that same person to be that evil person that they were?
It's nature nurture thing, isn't it?
But then you see these criminals that have had such a good upbringing. They've been spoiled, they've had love, but then they snap anyway. Do you know? And it's like yeah.
I've had, I won't say friends, acquaintances, you know, that you meet in a bar or where you've got a group of people and they get to know one another. And I've had several of them who celebrate in celebrating the devil and evil. They love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I would say that, and this is going to sound so judgmental, I'm sorry it is, but I would say what they celebrate, I would say they would need psychiatric counselling.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand how anyone can celebrate the evil doings of such heinous crimes, and they celebrate that. They think it's fun.
I think some people think I think some people do it just to be different as well. I think it just becomes a trend.
Do you think that it's also a choice, though? The only reason I'd say it's a choice is because Robbie's just put something in chat that some people are born evil caused by a chemical imbalance in their brain. Well, I can talk about it now because it's past and I've done with it. I had to go and see a psychologist and it was really good. And I went to see him through Pain Clinic and it were Johansson. So it were like a Swedish kind of name. Yeah. Really high up in his field, but he works with criminals and he works with bad men and women he works with. And he like, I don't know whether he psychoanalyzes them or what he does, but and he'd like come into the hospital section to have a break, right? Yeah. And then I walked into his room. I didn't get a break, no, I did really. And we were talking about me and like he's the one that changed my whole perspective. But he said to me, he says that I'm damn lucky that he wasn't talking to me at the other side of the bars. He said there was a crossing your path. He says that you made that choice. Something kept you on the right path. He says whatever that pull was strong enough to keep you pulled. Well, I have got a chemical imbalance in brain because I've got ADHD. We know that with ADHD, you've got traits of you've got traits of everything, the autism, the Asperger's, but it's like little bits, but I was more ADHD. So when you look at it then, he said that to me that I had there was a point in my life when I was young that something pulled me in that direction. So do we have that choice? Do we have that control?
I think so. Well, we have free will, don't we? I think there is, I think sometimes there is intervention as well. Don't forget that there is spirit all around us.
I'd say mine, I'm going to say, would have been on a spiritual level.
Yeah.
Mine would have been a spiritual intervention, but also I never wanted to hurt my mom. That would have been one of my, I never would have wanted to, my mom were hurt enough. Yeah. So I would never have wanted to go down that path to actually hurt anybody else.
The thing is, Lindsay, you loved your mum. You came from a loving family. Imagine if your mother had been a horrible mother, a neglectful mother, somebody that was cruel to you, somebody that said hurtful things to you. So you marry that upbringing.
Opposite.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could have crossed that line and gone opposite way.
Yeah.
Such a fine line, isn't it? But would then I have been told? So if I'd have gone then and said it were a demon, I've got this. I didn't do it. It's this demonic energy, you know. And I think sometimes, and not all the time, because it's different. It's case by case by case. But I think some of them, it's just they can't admit themselves what they've just done. So it's like they pass the blame to the evilness, because everybody believes in evilness.
Yes.
And it's like that blame.
It still remains with us through the ages, I suppose, that indoctrine. But I think that it's not just one thing. It's not just a chemical imbalance or whatever. I think there's a lot of layers to...
Like an onion.
Yeah. And I think that it's a series of events, a series of, I think that it kind of... It's never just one thing. I think, the mind is a very complex thing.
See, that's it, isn't it, with the brain. But let's get back on subject of the demons.
I was just going to say as well, I wonder, way back, whether mental health was misdiagnosed as demons.
Well, we know it were. We know it were. Not in all cases, because I do believe that people do get that attachment. I do believe that.
Yeah. And it's all bad spirits.
Oh, yeah. I do wholeheartedly believe that a negative energy can attach itself. But I believe there's got to be a little bit of negativity there already for it to attach onto.
Yeah.
I don't think that if you're laughing and joking and smiling and on top of the world, your energy would push that negative energy away. Do you know? I do believe that your energy can do that. You can push it away. But I believe that sometimes if we have like it could be a mini breakdown. It could be you've lost somebody, you've lost a loved one. Anything that can bring that barrier down could bring in a negative attachment. I do believe that. I don't believe that when we go out on an investigation that we could get attached, because we don't do it without being the intent's there for protection. Do you know what I mean? So, but could people? I think they could, but not in what you're seeing on YouTube and Facebook and on telly.
No.
They literally, they're just like people going, "Oh, I'm attacked by a demon! I've got a demon! It's telling me to do this." Do you know what I mean? Or I'm going to strangle you, Claire. I'm a demon. I've got a negative. Do you know, that to me is just like, that's child's play at it. Do you know? But you've got people that actually believe that that's real and that's what happens.
Yeah.
But it's not like what happens. It's a slow process. You don't just get a demon attachment and then 5 minutes, 10 minutes like this, it's gone and you're fine and you can have a cup of tea and a fag and me and Claire are best mates after I've been strangled her. Do you know what I mean? That's not how it works. We know that when we look back at like the exorcists that people had done. You know, were all of them a negative energy? No, I believe, like Claire said, some of it were mental health, undiagnosed mental health.
Well, I know they still in some African tribal places they don't recognise depression. No. It's an evil entity that's entered, and their witch doctors perform exorcisms to remove that. In Western, what we would do now with our medicine is we would give antidepressants, where they are exorcising.
Yeah.
Such conditions like you've got as well, Lindsay, like ADHD and stuff, that again.
All day long. Do you know, if I were born in wrong time, I'd have been
these conditions wouldn't have been diagnosed.
No. So my behaviour would have been a devilish behaviour. It would have, for the I wouldn't have just sat down prim and proper. I'd have been bouncing all over and not attacking.
And being a naughty child.
A naughty child, as you call it. But yeah, I could have easily been carted off and had about an exorcism done on me because it wasn't the normal behaviour and because we didn't understand it. It's like you said, but we've come such a long way. Clinton Baptiste is where you get real and dangerous paranormal. I don't know, Clinton Baptiste.
I recognise that name, but I don't know.
I recognise that name.
Incubus, in Clinton Baptiste, the one that we're on Peter Kay. Weren't that him?
I recognise that name.
Yeah,
I know that name.
I'm sure that's a piss take, that one. It's got to be Incubus. Clinton Baptiste, I'm sure that's him who we're on Peter Kay show. When he went round and like put his hand on somebody and did that show. It is.
Has anybody seen it?
Have you ever seen it? Have you ever seen Clinton Baptiste?
America, whether he's seen it.
You can actually go and see him. I would have been burned as Robbie. I mean, I've got to say, I don't like that. I'm going to say what he said. He went up to this bloke. He was on Peter Kay show, so it was supposed to be a joke. And he went up to this bloke, and he's like, he stood on stage, and he goes up and touches this bloke. Oh, he says to this bloke at first, he went, "You've got something to tell your wife, haven't you?" And he went, "No." He went, "Yeah, haven't you?" And he went, "No." And wife sat aside, and he's looking at him. He's going, "Yeah, you've got something to tell you," or something like that. And next minute she's going, "What you got to tell me?" Starts attacking her husband and thing. And then he goes up to this bloke who sat with somebody, and he just goes, "Nonce." And the bloke just takes him, and it's end at show. It is absolutely class. Absolutely amazing. But yeah, you can actually go and see him.
I know that name.
Clinton Baptiste does do his own psychic show. You can buy tickets to go and see him. Yeah. And I'm not going. I'll probably punch him in the face, but yeah. It was classed as hyperactivity before illness came out, because my sister was classed as that, says Anne. But yeah, isn't it funny though, our different things? So what else did you find, Lorna?
Really, I just concentrated on that. There was pages upon pages.
Yeah, bless you. Could have gone on forever.
Yeah. It's a big.
I haven't got time for that.
We'd have to have 3 other shows to get through this.
Oh, bless you.
All right, we can continue the shows. But yeah, so what's your take on it then? So let's go to Claire first. Go on then, your take on what we're talking about on demons.
You see, for me, I don't know about Yolanda, but for me, I still can't get my head around whether demons are real or not, because I was brought up Catholic. So it's like that imprint. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, there's good and bad. I understand that, but it's like I can't definitively say that it doesn't exist. Because I've always got that niggle because I was brought up Catholic.
Yeah. Yo.
So that's my opinion.
I've got a problem in the crossover. I've got a big problem in the crossover between mental health and demonic possessions. I think there's such a fine line between the two. And anybody listening to me would think, how dare you pass that judgment? But I think that about myself as well. How dare I pass it? I can't pass a judgment. I don't know if these evil serial killers that said God spoke to me and told me, was it Peter Sutcliffe, go and kill all the prostitutes? I mean, if that really, 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 really did happen to him, not pretend, not mental illness, that really did happen to him. Yikes, how awful. I can't make that call. But if that was a happy man that just thought, I'm going to go and kill prostitutes, I know exactly what I'm doing, that's evil. Is that demonic? Is that a mental illness? You know, it's just a can of worms. And
you see, I don't class that as demonic. I don't class that as demonic. I class that as he'd got a wire loose. Excuse my way of saying it, but for someone to do such a horrible thing, he wasn't wired right. I don't think it was down to but I don't think it was down to something. No, I don't think it was down to something demonic. That was just his mental state. That's how his mind works. That's what he got his kicks from. Sick as it is.
But what makes it even sicker for me is he had a wife and child. He had a family. Do you know? So, but he said God told him to do it. What's that make God?
Exactly.
What's that make God then? You know, if he's saying God told him to do that, I thought God was supposed to be good.
Yeah, but if he's hearing voices through mental health problems or illness, then he might have been hearing God, but it wouldn't have been God. It'd have been voices in his head. If he was schizophrenic or you don't know, do you?
I have watched things whereby they will say that they heard voices, so that their sentence would, they would be easier on them because it was then classed as a mental issue.
Yeah.
But when my PTSD was at its worst and I was like really, really depressed and my anxiety was so high and I was in such a bad place, I heard voices. Now the voices I were hearing were my own voice, not an external voice. But what I'm saying is, he could have been in a place where we were hearing voices. It don't mean it's demonic. He could have had that, something going off in his brain.
Yeah.
I was definitely on there.
He worked in church, exactly. Most serial killers had family. Look at the BTK killer; he worked in a church. So I mean, I don't really want to say this, but I'm going to say it because of what's been mentioned. But because of the strictness of a church, that faith, that belief. So this person, that gentleman, that not gentleman, but that BTK killer, right? Say I don't know, he found a $5 on the floor, picked it up and put it in his wallet. Then all he's thinking is, I'm going to devil now, I'm going to devil. And that puts that thought in his mind. Then he goes out and commits a heinous crime because he's going to devil anyway. So, well, I might as well. Do you know? Is it a mental breakdown between being that far into the religion and the belief systems of a religion? Could it turn them that when they do something, it might just be a word said wrong, it could be but they punish them, and by punishing themselves, they're punishing others and not. And it's like it's like that brain switch kind of thing.
A possibility, I think. I think, as I mentioned before, I think there's layers to people in why they do certain things they do. And we always say, that's evil, don't we? We always react that way. We always say, done something, they're evil. That was an evil thing that they did. So we always, even subconsciously, we don't think about it. We just react by saying that.
Yeah, you do. I mean, let me just go back though and say, when he said I could have gone that way or that way, just so people know, it's because when you're ADHD, how you feel about things you can't express. So I know I love my children. I know I love my mom. I know I love John. But the emotions behind that can be sometimes all at once or nothing at all. I can't. I can only speak for myself because I can't speak for anybody else that goes through this. But my brain works completely different to how other people's brain works on an emotional level.
Yeah.
Because there is a chemical imbalance, because you've got part of your brain's dead. If you look at a brain with ADHD, it's got an actual piece of dead brain there, or with this side, wherever it is. So the brain doesn't connect the two. There's nothing. And even by taking medication, it doesn't spark that up. The medication just speeds the brain to give it on one level. But people like that who have got this imbalance, this chemical brain that's missing, this missing link, it's so easy. It's so easy to
cross the line,
to cross that line and not have any feeling about it. And I know that sounds awful.
No,
but
you can't help it.
At a younger age, when I did things at a younger age, I had no emotional feeling behind it. If I did it, I did it. And if I don't, I don't. But there was no emotion. So when I did something that was naughty,
there was no guilt.
Didn't matter. I'm not guilt. I don't feel no guilt.
Yeah.
Now as an adult, and the brains, it's not the brains changed, but the
way know right from wrong.
I was brought up right from wrong. But again, I could have veered off that. But I knew in myself that right from wrong. So I kept myself on that path.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But there's people that don't. But then we've got people that go out and do said they've been done with devil, like you said, and it could be a married man for 50 years. And because he's upset in his relationship with, or a married woman, and she's upset with her husband, she'll go and stab him, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it all comes back to the negatives again. Do you know? Steph, as a medical person, it's hard to distinguish between mental illness and demonic possession activity.
I agree with that.
I agree, Claire. I think he was just pure evil, and he just used that to get an easier life inside. Just my opinion. My youngest daughter has ADHD and autism, so she can snap at the turn of a coin, and it can be scary for a lot to witness. It can, Robert. It can, because you're like that, and then all of a sudden, and sometimes, I mean, for me, they put it down to split personality disorder, but I think it's more on the ADHD spectrum, because you do just switch. You don't have a control. You learn the control later in life, but at that point it can be too late sometimes when you've learned that control, because it's when you're younger and your emotions are heightened, and do you know what I mean? You've got to get through that toughness to laughter. And I think doing the spiritual path for me was what kept my feet grounded. I needed to be grounded, and I did that by going to spiritual churches, and always, like you say, the good and the bad, but never the and never the demonic. Now, whether that were my mind shutting off to the demons and the Desmonds because I didn't want to believe in my situation, do you know what I mean? Because it is, isn't it? It's all what we're brought up with, and what different things. There have been hundreds of priests that are dedicated to only fighting the devil and possessions. Would the church dedicate that many priests for so many years if it was all bullshit?
Good question.
Good question.
I knew a priest who did do exorcisms for the Vatican, and he went all over the world to do that. I knew of a few that he'd done. And he was an amazing person. He really was. And he was dedicated. He was dedicated not just to his faith, but he was dedicated to, to what his gifts, using his gift. But he was an incredible person. I was really honoured to have known him. And
I think as well, Lorna, sorry, I cut in there. But in this day and age, wouldn't they have checked mental health and stuff out first, ruled that out first before getting in the church?
I don't know. I think if it's gone so far, he didn't tell me about the cases, but I trusted his judgment. If he actually went somewhere, I thought he needed to go.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have gone for no reason, because he was a very gifted person. I mean, there's not many people I can turn around and say I was really honoured to have known him, because he was an amazing soul, and he was there for everybody. It didn't matter if you weren't Catholic. I wasn't Catholic. And I actually met him by taking a friend who was going through emotional trauma. So I kind of took her, and it was through her situation that I met him, and I was really thankful for that. But it was an incredible friendship, and I can say with hand on heart, there's not many people that I've seen along the way that have been so dedicated to their faith, but he was. And I have seen a few people in the church.
So do you believe in demons?
I definitely I remember, I will say this. I mean, God rest his soul, he's passed away now. And but I had a vision that he was bruised on his ribs, his arms. And I said to him, have you been beaten up, Father? And he said, why do you say that? And I said, because I can see bruises around your arms, your chest. And he said, that was my first exorcism. I was thrown off every wall.
Wow.
But Lorna had got a really special connection, didn't you, Lorna? I mean, if Lorna thought of him, the phone would ring.
He knew.
You know, and vice versa in a way, though, as well, though, Lorna. You know, there were times you just phoned, and do you know what I mean? So that connection, but no, I mean, I wish, do you know, I wish we could, do you know, when you just wish that you could get somebody on as a precious soul he was, not to discuss the cases, because that's not what you want to discuss, but to discuss his experiences, if you know what I mean. But I mean, but you see this and you hear it. Demons do exist. I've been in the presence of a few over the years. Last time was in a friend's house and I got help to get rid of them. So so I do believe in them, but I think I believe
in demons.
I don't think it happens as frequently as perhaps people make out. I think yes, they do occur, but I think that, like Lindsay's just
Rachel,
said,
my lovely.
Night, Rach.
It can be brought on through, you know, television, through that. You're seeing that all the time.
The entertainment value of what they're doing, they're making a mockery of it themselves when they're doing these television programs, but they know people are willing to pay and willing to watch because it's entertainment, and the more scarier, the better. Now, I'm not going to say that like every exorcism that said Lorna's friend went to, it would have bounced off walls. There would have been times when he could have just walked in and just put his hand on his head, on the head, and that could have been enough to rid it. But other times it is a battle. You hear it when people talk. You know yourself, if you're battling depression, that negative energy you're battling, then the fight you have. So for somebody else to come in and step into negativity and battle that while battling the person themselves. To get through, like Lorna said, the layers, the onions, and to get through it all. Wow. Do you know what I mean?
I think as well with some people, especially when they televised, you know, whether they send in spirit on or not. I mean, I've done that in the past. I've done soul rescue. So I didn't know I could do it, but I did do it. And, you know, spirit brings you into these things and situations sometimes to, you know, challenge it. And you know, if you're gifted enough to do that, then you find yourself in that situation. So, but I think that some people say that they do it, not necessarily do it, but say they do it to kind of elevate themselves in a way, to say that, oh, well, I'm invincible, I got rid of them, I can do this, I can do that. And you know, sometimes you don't have to say what you do to an extent. Obviously, on a show like this where we're discussing these matters, yes, but
you do, because you talk, but it's not an ego boost, though, is it? We're on about this. Somebody said it in church the other day. We've got a lady at church, and she's exceptional at mediumship, really good. And the only reason she doesn't want to get up on a podium is because she doesn't want people to think that she's egotistical. She is the most nicest, sweetest lady. Yo-Yo knows her, but she's one of the most sweet. Honestly, she's absolutely lovely. There's no way that woman could be egotistic, whatever the word is, if she tried. Do you know what I mean? And that's her path to go down. So I get that when people, you don't shout it from rooftops what you are or who you are. The ones that shout it from rooftops are genuinely, and I don't mean this on a nasty level, but are genuinely not I can say fake, a fake. you know, because they're feeding their own ego, so they're not as good as what they say they are. That's not fake, but I'm not saying they're fake, because I believe we've all got gifts, but they feed their own egos, do you know? So it makes them better.
Hi, Nanny Lynn.
But is it a demon or just a horrible, nasty human spirit? Because there are some extremely horrible humans. There bloody is Incubus. But again, I think maybe possibly Incubus, like you said.
Yeah.
For me, like I said, when they go in and they just can put, when they go in, they put the hand on the head, or some people go into church, and when you walk out of a room, that negativity leaves behind you.
Yeah.
Then for me, them energies, that's when the human spirit's coming into your aura. You know, you like when you feel something, and it's like you walk into a different room, or if some people, you hear them that they're in a house and they're getting a bit oppressed, but yet when they go outside and leave it, that energy stays. Do you know? To me, I think for me, I'd probably put that down to a human spirit, a human energy. That's because if it was demonic for me, it wouldn't just be in the place; it would be wherever that person went. Because it's attached to them, not to the place. Do you know what I mean? So, well, I hope it's attached to them and not the place, because if it's a top place, we've all got some negative places to live. Robbie's put movie and TVs are fantasizing it for entertainment purposes, and it's nothing that is in real life. Do you know? 100% agree with you. A lot of Facebook groups have no idea what they're getting into. It's only a matter of time before one's going to be in real danger. I believe that too. Why would there be any different in spirit form? See, they wouldn't. A grumpy energy in life is a grumpy energy in spirit. Just because they say that when we go through spirit, we go on that. It's not like you open doors and you're in a new wardrobe and a new body. You take with you the essence of who you are into spirit, you know. So like when we see these babies that come back, whether it's female, whether it's females or males, you see these babies with scrunched up face that look like miserable old men or old women. They're the energies coming back in. I'm lying, I'm messing, I'm joking.
So am I gonna have menopause when I go to the other side? Am I still gonna be a bitch?
Yeah. Hey, Nanny Lane. Why do you think some give off the odour of sulfur? So why do you think, Lorna? Why do you think they give off smells?
Well, I think that is. I think sometimes that I haven't personally smelt that with spirit, so I can't really, if I smelt it in an experience I'd had in the past and there had been something really bad there, then I could say then that is an indication of the spirit that is really quite a bad spirit, and perhaps it's I don't really know. I've not really thought about the sulfur side of it. I mean, I did do an investigation at a place called Crook Hall, and it was an old Jacobean hall. In fact, there were 4 different periods in history in Durham. And this cameraman came with us. I didn't like him, actually. I thought he was arrogant, but never mind. And anyway, about 3 o'clock in the morning, it was absolutely freezing, but we could smell the strong smell of bread being baked, like the baking of bread. And that was a really strange kind of experience. I don't know about, I think, those kind of smells, of course, are reminders of the past, and things that spirit did in the past was baking bread, or she was the cook, or do you know what I mean? But the smells can be associated with their profession, what they've done, perfume, so that you can recognize a person who wore that perfume. Don't know about the sulfur. I would suggest if I smelled sulfur and I sensed something there, I would say it was bad.
Yeah.
And I would say that was an indication of a bad spirit.
Claire?
Again, I have no idea why sulfur smell.
Yo-yo?
I'm just wondering if it's the chemical reaction in our body. I think there's a definition of what's, I call demons evil. So I think a living human that does something evil, I would describe as being demonic. Yes. Other people might say they've got a mental illness. I would describe them as evil. When some people can smell quite sweet when they're fearful, because it's a chemical reaction in the body and the hormones, and your sweat can start to smell differently. I mean, I'm just talking out of my head. I don't know. I'm not an expert in anything, but I'm wondering.
But this is what I'm saying.
Is
this
there
is
a
why
chemical reaction
that's
going to go on?
There is no right or wrong answer in this.
No.
Is there going to be a chemical reaction within our body that gives that stench if it's an evil persona or an evil personality, or Yeah.
See,
I have heard of it though. I have heard other people smell that smell. I've never really thought about it because I've not experienced it myself, but perhaps it's just that indication that it's a warning to us to say.
But do you know, if you talk to different people who have different beliefs, so I believe in spirituality. I also believe in Mother Nature with the elves, the gnomes, the fairies, the fae side of it. I believe in both. And if you talk to somebody who is more on the elemental side, if they smell like a sulfur smell or a thing, I mean, I don't think it is sulfur for them, but if they get that bad smell, it's normally a warning. You need to, it's a warning sign that you need to turn around, because if you're going to continue going, then you're crossing not a portal as such, but you're crossing a barrier field. So it's like, I don't know, like when they said we Yetis and Bigfoot or what do you call them, Sasquatchers, when they come, people always say they smell that smell first, but then when they continue walking, the stones start getting thrown at them, and then they have to retreat backwards.
Did you see the experiment they did on the television? It was a documentary, and people had to go into a room and smell under people's armpits. I think it was done with cotton wool, but they were going up and smelling.
What?
Seriously, and they were saying, without any knowledge, what they could smell, and they would say fear or anger.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Like a scientific experiment.
Yeah, proper scientific documentary they did on it, and how people can. I think Lana said earlier about, or was it you? I can't remember. Somebody said earlier about a warning. Have we got this inner warning thing? And it was like, they say you can smell fear, and that's something we've got to protect us.
Yeah.
We don't use our senses for that full ability though, do we? We don't need to. So unless you were put in that situation to test it, you probably wouldn't know.
No, you wouldn't. Stephanie, I once staged my house and opened my attached garage door and smelled rotten eggs and sulfur. No idea if I pushed the evil out there. I have never smelt it out there before or since. So for me, if you were doing a cleansing at that time, the collective negative energies that you were getting out of your house may possibly have caused a certain odor. Do you know, possibility it caused a certain odor? You would have had to have looked round with the and I don't not knocking you, but with the bin at end of road or a bin bag that we'd missed. Do you know what I mean? You've got to look at the bigger. But if you know that there was nothing there and you smelt it, then for me, if in my belief system is, for me, you've pushed it out. Because that's all about letting negativity out of your homes, isn't it? You have your windows open and you do your smudging and everything else. But Lana, you've done house cleansings. Have you ever come across anything like that?
No, this is it. The only thing that I have come across was in Cook Hall was the really strong smell of bread. bacon. I mean, there was nothing. There was no. It was just an old Jacobean hall. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. There was nobody there.
Yeah.
Somebody were tormenting you with smell of bread.
I know, I love smell of fresh bread.
And the cameraman caught he said, I've just seen somebody, because he was quite skeptical at first, and which is fair enough, but there was an arrogance about him I didn't like. And he said, I've just seen somebody disappear around that corner. And he said, my film's run out. And he said, I have to change it. He said, has anybody got a camera? I said, well, you said that digital camera was no good. So no. So he missed it.
So Tracy's put, but are there such things as demons, or are they in fact just angry spirits? My opinion is both. I think both. Nanny Lynn, I like what Nanny Lynn's put. Go on, sorry, Lorna, you answer that one.
It's all right.
Go on. I was what? Go on, just say it, woman. Just say it.
I was going to say, I think as well with different cultures and the belief in voodooism and hoodooism and what I'm not quite sure about that side, so I don't want to really go into that. But I think that when people started to, going back in say Middle Ages, people started to travel more. There were things like the Silk Road and going centuries back, people traveled a lot more. Our ancestors traveled a lot more than we give credit for. And I think that, with that, they brought their own beliefs and their own, and I think that was shared along the way. And, perhaps that kind of belief from other cultures had cropped in and crept in as well. And maybe they brought them with them, we are surrounded by spirits from, centuries ago, as well as, if we take it through the ages. So I would say that there is, but I don't think it's as frequently as people make out.
Yeah, I'm with Lorna on that one. I don't think it's as frequently as people make out.
And I think I think that also you find as well, when you get poltergeists, where things are flying off bookshelves and around the room. It can be an angry spirit that hasn't been acknowledged and, for so long. Sometimes they just want to be acknowledged.
But
on a bit of attention.
I do know this one on an elemental side. A poltergeist on an elemental level is a house brownie. And a house brownie, a very house proud elementals that are in everybody's homes. And again, we're going now into a different kind of spiritual belief.
Yeah.
I incorporate every one of them into my own. But they would say that was a house brownie, and it's a house brownie because you've left mess somewhere, or there's something that you've done in the house.
Look in my house.
Their way of letting you know that there's something that's not right, and normally you can appease them by correct. It might be I don't know, you might go to bed one night, let's say, I don't know how Andy worded it, so I might say it totally wrong, and Andy might say you've said it completely wrong, Lindsay, but I'm just going to say, like, say I go to bed at night and I might put a cup away in cupboard, but that cup might have got its place on side, and because I've put it in cupboard, the house brownie might make a mess in my kitchen. Do you know what I mean? Until I put that cup back in its place.
I think that kind of thing. Ones, I think there are those that make you chuckle a little bit, when your keys go missing or something somewhere else. But I think there are ones that do cause a lot more than just a bit of mystery.
Definitely. I mean, Nanny Lynn's just linked that in. Sulfur in the Bible is classed as brimstone. So when people are going out and they're smelling the sulfur, is it because it's been because it's been in the Bible. The Bible's been quoted to their family, their friends, and they're saying, if you smell sulfur or rotten egg, that means you've got demonic energy around you. Is it because it's in a religious context that people believe it? Do you know? So if you believe it, we know our brain can cause us to smell things that aren't there.
Yeah.
Do you know that your brain can do that. So is it because it's like I don't know, if I want a cup of coffee, I can smell coffee before I even have it. Do you know what I mean? Because my brain's thing. So is it with the sulfur? Is it that same thing? Is it an imprinted that we're imprinted from what we're being taught and told growing up? Do you know what I mean?
Well, yes, it could be. Or it could be a spirit from that time that was steeped in religion. And, perhaps they feel remorse for what they've done in their lifetime.
Yeah.
It could be.
Yeah, could be negative energy coming into this. Yeah.
Personally, I would.
Stephanie's put, I live in America Southeast, where hoodoo and voodoo, is practiced by many. I've even witnessed spells being used that 100% worked. The only thing I believe in is if I believe something's going to work 100%, it's going to work. If I've got doubt in my mind, it's not going to work. And I don't think it matters whoever I go to, whether it would be a hoodoo priest, a voodoo priest, a priestess. It wouldn't matter if I went to a Catholic church and I was speaking to a father there. It wouldn't matter if I went into a Christian church. If they said something to me and I didn't honestly underbelieve, because again, it's that intention. If I said to Claire, you can do this, Claire, you can really do it, you can do it, she'll start believing then she can do it. By the end of that hour, Claire will go out and do what she's going to do because I've just drilled it into her for an hour. She can do it. You can do it. Do you know? And I'm not knocking any religion because I do believe in hoodoo and voodoo.
Yeah.
And again, we've got the good and bad in both them religions.
Yeah.
And there is spells. We've got white witches here. We've got medicine women here that do spells. They do work. But again, I feel that the intent from the person having it has either got to be a believer in what's happening or the intent's got to be set for me. But yeah.
Michelle.
Evening, ladies.
I do think some people with that ability, of
definitely
magic, I do think that.
Oh, there is.
Which can be used for either good or bad.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, we're talking about demons, but you can talk about hexes and curses. Do you know? Again, it's a negative person that puts a hex or a curse on another person. But the only thing is that intent they put out, they're going to get back. And that is my belief. So if somebody puts a hex on you, and going back, if you go back into time, in time, I've seen documentaries where they've said like they found little bags tied under the bed and it were a curse from somebody who lived on other land and they've come to curse their land and they found these little bags of potions. But in that time, witchcraft, everybody was scared of it.
Yes.
So it might have been the crops would have died anyway, but because they found this bag, and do you know what I mean? So again, it's that belief that if I believe that we're going to be a curse, then I believe that curse would work. But I do believe that there is real curses out there that people can get jinxed, hexed, whatever.
It's like going back to sacrifices as well, isn't it? If we don't sacrifice someone, we don't get no crops.
Exactly. Yeah. So for me, I think on that one, it's more like with the hexes and stuff. For me, it's same as with a negative energy. You put out that, you're going to get it back tenfold, and when it comes back to you, it's not going to be a pleasant one, and then you've got to ride that storm. So you shouldn't never put a bad intent out to anybody. You don't have to like everybody, but you definitely don't put bad intent out towards people. Do you know?
And I think when going back to soul rescue. It's
thank you,
you
Robert.
you can't always send them on because they don't always want to go.
No, they don't. They just want to be heard, don't they? They just want to be, known, acknowledged.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Nanny Lynn's put that in, hasn't she? I can't read Nanny. Same smell as volcano gases, which were thought in ancient times to be hell's exit doors. Sulfur is, That's bringing it back to sulfur as well, Robbie. I'm trying to see the power of the mind, Nanny Lynn. Stephanie's put some nurses repeatedly put very, very naughty in a guard's coffee to make him fall in love with a particular nurse, and he's left his wife for her, and they were married for years, last I heard. But again, do you know you can do this in any witchcraft or any spiritual when you go to do this, but is it right? Your intent is to make somebody love you. That's wrong anyway. Do you know what I mean? And that's going against the code of practice. You don't do anything for self-gain. So why are we giving potions to have self-gain, and especially taking a married man or even a single man? Why would you want to make somebody love you if they didn't love you? Do you know, isn't that like classed as self-gaining? You know, and that was against
that person is preventing that person from actually meeting the person they should be with. So, but also
it's weird, isn't it? Because like I'd be thinking, well, he don't really want to be with me. He's only with me because I've made him be with me.
Yeah, I don't see.
I think the Twilight Zone
because I've made him be with me.
Yeah, I don't.
I've got a spell book. I've got a spell book, and it's got that spell in. Make somebody fall in love, and that spell's in these books. And it isn't hocus pocus. It is just mixing natural herbs and saying your intent over it. But again,
but there's a different thing. If I said Lindsay's single and I wish she'd meet somebody and fall in love, that's different from me saying I want him to fall in love with me.
Yeah.
But again,
that's taking away someone's free will, and it's I must not think of myself very much if I'm thinking, well, he's only going to be with me because I've made him be with me.
So the karma to come back on that would be unbelievable karma to come back off.
They did that in Tales of the Unexpected, or one of those. It was quite somebody cast a spell. He was absolutely besotted with this woman, and she was like a Marilyn Monroe type of stunner. And so he cast the spell that she would fall in love with him, and she would go everywhere with him and worship at the ground he walked on.
Wow.
And the spell worked. And it was funny because as the story went on, she was very clingy. She loved him. She did everything he wanted. And in the end, he couldn't stand her. He just wanted somebody with a brain that would.
It is supernatural as well, Yolanda. They'd got to wish him well.
They did.
It threw, and he wanted someone, and it just got too overpowering. She were killing for it, and he were like, "What are you doing?" And anybody said a bad word, and oh crikey, and he was just like, "I want to get rid of her."
They do say, "Be careful what you wish for."
Yeah.
Jesus, I'm not wishing for no. I'm wishing for all good for everybody else. Nanny Lynn wants a potion for a sexy man. Oh, Nanny Lynn. Stephanie agreed. I thought it was evil to mess with that married man's coffee. They were nurses too. You wouldn't believe what they added to his coffee. Oh my goodness.
I don't want to know.
Keep your hand over your coffees. Oh dear. But yeah. Well, we've been on for 1:18, so I'm going to say thank you. We are going to stay on and chat afterwards in the background. Oh, Robert. Yes. But I think tonight has been really, really brilliant. I've right enjoyed tonight. I think this topic of conversation We've addressed different avenues.
Isn't it funny, because when you first think about it, I think in my head I know what demons and evils are, and it's only listening to the conversation and listening to what Lana was saying, I'm thinking I need to redefine what these words mean, because it's like a rabbit hole down there, isn't it?
Yeah. Total rabbit hole. But again, there is no right or wrong. What each individual believes is their belief. Yeah. Do you know? I couldn't say.
Interestingly, though, Lindsay, I think my beliefs are very narrow, because I'm so lucky. I am so lucky. I haven't encountered it. I hear about it in the news. I hear stories of people, and I'm so fortunate that I'm not in that position where I've encountered it. So my thought system is very narrow. I don't know. I haven't witnessed it. I haven't encountered it, fortunately.
Yeah. But it's just, I just think it's just amazing. But you can find Lana. Lana, where can they find you, my lovely?
Spirit Vibe.
Spirit Vibe.
We can put the link on. I think there's a few Spirit Vibes. That's why I think the link would be best.
I'll put link onto the page.
Oh, Artist Lana. You can find me there.
Yes, because Lana, go on, you've got a couple of minutes to tell everybody what you do, just in case anybody ever wants to get in touch.
Lana. I'm a psychic artist, so I draw spirit, and could be a loved one, past life experience, or your spirit guide, and I give a reading with that. I'm also an artist as well, so kind of have a few different things that I do, but mainly it's the psychic artistry. If anybody's interested in a reading, just contact me.
Fabulous.
Yeah. And if anybody's interested to see more Alana, she's joining Paul next Tuesday on here at 8:30. Nanny Lynn's a busy lady. She's buggered off somewhere else, Nanny Lynn. So I know. So unless it changes for Nanny Lynn, Lana's coming out. Lana will be on next week. Lana's tarot cards are bloody stunning and beautiful. They are.
I just wish Michelle Howell a very happy birthday for tomorrow. God bless, sleep well, and have a great day. Happy birthday tomorrow.
Whose birthday?
Michelle Howell. She says, I'm off now, going to get some sleep.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Michelle. Happy birthday to you. Have a beautiful birthday, lovely lady. So Claire, last words off you.
Good night, everyone. Sleep tight. God bless.
Yo.
Short and sweet.
God bless. Bye, everyone.
Michelle says 52 today. Turn it round. It's 25. It's 25. Turn your numbers round. Really enjoyed tonight. Again, we will be live again next Wednesday. Lana might join us again next Wednesday. Might be a total different chat next week. We might all be farting, burping, slurping. We could be doing anything next week. Every week is going to be something different, whether we have something like this where we have that little bit of a serious turn to it, to a week where it's just like, oh, really, that kind of turn to it. You're walking away with burn marks in your cheeks from smiling too much.
I don't know what she means to you, Yolanda.
Yeah.
I don't know what she means to you.
No, you don't. So Lana might join us again if she's a late night lady.
I would love to.
She'll be on with us on a Wednesday. Ladies' night. What?
I'm up for a giggle.
That's it. Ladies' night at the car wash. So thank you. Yeah, Robbie, I'll look out for messages coming in. So good night, everybody. 29 and some change. And you talk about farting and then burnt cheeks. Yeah, Steve, you know me. Right. So everybody take care. Have a blessed day, evening, wherever you are, and stay safe, everybody. Take care. See you all later. Bye.
Bye.
I have to end this now. And they